Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's Friday Live. Oops, hang on, just getting my microphone set up here. I forgot to do that. Hi, everyone. Fiona Lukes here, coming to you live on this Friday, the 30th of May, 2025. I am currently live on Facebook and YouTube. I want to start this live off by wishing my Papa Bear a big happy birthday. It's his 80th birthday today. So a really big happy birthday to you, Papa Bear. Love you very much. Can't wait to celebrate with you this weekend. There's a big party happening tomorrow, and lots of family, friends, and everyone coming around to celebrate. So a really big happy birthday to you, Dad. Love you lots. And I cannot believe my father is 80. Like, man, that's old. You're getting old. Like, whew. Okay, so happy birthday to you, Dad. And to anyone who's joining me live today, feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're listening from. And as always, I will answer any questions that you may have. Every week when I do these lives, I'm here to kind of share some of the themes that have come up for me with my relatable students and clients, and what has shown up during the week. And and the reason I do that is because as human beings, we are more similar than we are different, and it's always fascinating to me to see, no matter where you are in the world, whether you're from the UK or the US or Canada or Australia or New Zealand, which is they're the main places where my clients, my students are situated. We are all going through very similar things. The patterns are the same. The way people feel about things are the same. There's just so much sameness amongst us all. And I'm a big believer in looking in the direction of sameness, because when we look in the direction of sameness, we relate to each other. It's like this sense of, oh, I'm not the only one who feels that way. Oh, I'm not the only one going through this. We feel more connected to the whole. And a human being that feels plugged in and connected is a human being that feels happier, calmer, more peaceful, grounded, lighter, and has a greater level of well-being. So, this is why connection is the lifeblood of every human being on the planet, right? We can't survive without connection. Connection is where it's at. And so the more connected we are, the more well-being we have, and the more well-being a human being has, the more generous they are, the kinder they are, the more loving they are, the lighter they hold themselves and others, the more playful they are. I mean, it just goes on and on and on in terms of how important this is. And so this is why everything that I talk about, everything that I point you in the direction of, because really I'm pointing you in the direction of something. Everything I talk about and everything I'm pointing you in the direction of is for you to be able to see and experience this for yourself. Because when a human being does that, the ripple effects of that are enormous. And for those who've been following me for a while, or maybe you're someone who's done my Relatable program or doing it or been a client of mine, I'm all about the ripples. I'm all about the ripple effects that you generate in your life with the people around you. Because as one person shifts, it has the power, or you have the power to shift so many people around you. And as one person shifts, it shifts out to the next person and the next person and the next person and the next person. And that's why it's so important that we do things like our relationships well, that we know how to navigate our emotions. We know how to navigate our thinking. We understand the psychological or the psychology of a human being. So the more we understand these things, the more ease and lightness with which we move through the world. And someone who moves through the world with ease and lightness has an incredible impact on everyone around them. So everything I do is about pointing you in that direction, so that as you see this, the ripple effects of that flow out to you, your family, friends, your community, because that is the power that one human being has. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the questions that have been sent in for today. If you are listening and you have a question, please feel free to pop it in the comments below and I'll answer it for you. And I'm just going to bring up my the question that there's a few questions sent in last week. So hang on, just let me get that. All right, perfect. Here we go. Oh, hang on. No, that's not the question. One second, guys. Okay, so here's the question for today. Sorry, guys, it's just my assistant's just... Okay. So the question that's come through today is, so sent in a little while ago from someone. And so the question that's come through today is, Fiona, I've been following you for a while. Sorry, I've just been... It's not the right question. Sorry, guys. Questions have been misfiled. Okay, all right. The questions have been misfiled. That's hopeless, isn't it? Sorry, guys. All right. Anyone got a question for me? My assistant hasn't put them where they need to be, and I've just messaged her, and they're not coming through. Oh, don't you love it when that happens? Oh, hang on. Here it is. Good on you. Thank you. Oh, here they are. All right. Okay, let's try this again. All right. Hi, Fiona. I've been tuning into your Friday sessions for a long while, and I found your approach incredibly helpful. I understand much of what you say. However, how does this apply to someone who I think is neurodivergent? My partner of 2 years is incredibly kind, loving, and attentive. He's also very intelligent in an intellectual way. And this is where I'm challenged. He finds conversation difficult. He listens, but it is passive listening. If I ask him a question to deepen our discussion on a personal matter, he usually segues into information he has read. He is a prolific reader. He also rarely asks me questions that would deepen our connection and his understanding of me. To his credit, he has tried a few times, but mostly responds with, I'm not a good conversationalist, am I? I am someone who loves a deep and meaningful conversation, so I'm finding this frustrating. What are your thoughts on this? Okay, great question. I think there's a couple of ways to look at this, all right? Hey, Julie, thanks for saying hi, darling. Much appreciate that. And apologies on taking a little while to get my question sorted today, guys. It's been one of those days. Look, this is a really great question. And I think one of the things that you have to actually think about like this, so the questions come in with someone saying, you know, my partner's neurodivergent and I'm looking for a deeper connection, and that's just not their strength, all right? And I think this is where expectations and the problems that expectations play in relationships in our lives. I think there's a bigger conversation we had around that. That is why I have in Relatable, I have a bonus module which is all about dealing with expectations, and I call it expectations, the silent killers of relationships, because expectations are a huge issue with people. I think one of the things is, you know, when we've got to stop expecting our partner to provide everything or be the everything. Does that make sense? And I think there's a lot of expectation that our partner should sort of satisfy all of our needs. Like that's the idea of a perfect relationship. And that's not necessarily the case at all. In fact, this is why I don't even teach core needs, which other people do, because people get really hung up on that. I need to be with someone who satisfies my core needs, and these are my core needs. And if I'm with someone who can't do that, then I'm with the wrong person. That's not necessarily true. Okay, you might find, like with this person, that if a deep and meaningful conversation, that might be something that you need to get elsewhere, like with a girlfriend, or by, I don't know, I'm making this up, but by joining a book club or through some other mean. It's like, okay, that's my husband. There's so many wonderful things that I get from my relationship with my husband, but this thing of having deep and meaningful conversation, that's not his strength. So I'm not going to keep putting that expectation on them. That's just something that I can be okay with, and I can get met somewhere else, right? If you were to look at if anyone was to look at their relationship, there'll always be something around someone that they would love to have more of, but they also understand that's not that person's strength. It might be a mismatched sex drive. It might be someone wishing their partner earned more money. It might be, do you know what I mean? There's so many different ways in which this can be looked at. And I remember having an insight around this with my own husband many, many years ago, that, for example, because I used to wish that my husband was a voracious reader, because I had this idea in my head that we'd lie in bed together on a Sunday morning and we'd talk about stuff, books that we'd read, and we'd talk about what was, political events around the world, or we'd have these kind of conversations, right? And my husband's reading is not his thing. There's a number of reasons for that, which I won't bore you with the details of, but it's not his thing. He listens to music. He gets everything that he needs by listening to music, okay? And so when I realized that I had that judgment or that expectation on him, and I could see that whilst ever I was energizing that, whilst ever I was focusing on that, whilst ever I was looking at that, I was really putting a lot of expectation, judgment, and then I was feeling disappointed every time he didn't read a book, every time we weren't having that experience that I imagined we would have on a Sunday morning. And that was having me in a space of disappointment, and then I would project that onto him, right? Which would have him feel less than around me, which would have him feel insecure around me or not enough around me, and it would take away from goodwill and the connection that I was trying to generate. And I had this insight, because those of you who may have been following me for a little while know that insights to me are where it's all at, right? Insights are the things that wipe our ego clean. Insights are the things that feed our soul. Insights are the things that enable us to see something with fresh eyes and get a different perspective on something. And so I'm all about the power of insight. And again, I talk about this a lot in my Relatable program with my students. So I had that insight, and I went, you know what, I don't need to have every box ticked by my husband. And then that's a lot to put on someone, right? It's a huge expectation put on someone, that person has to be, I've got to get every box ticked by him. It can be okay that I get that box ticked elsewhere. And I can take that off. I can take that expectation off, the disappointment off, the load of that off our connection. Because what I want to do is focus on the connection. And I think, when you look at it that way and you let that go, it takes an awful lot off you and the pressure off somebody else. Because let's face it, in any relationship, there will be things about someone that you might prefer were better or different, but you know what I mean, that it's okay that they are how they are. And I think we've got to stop putting so much, expectations are huge, and you've got to understand where expectations come from, what drives them, and have a different relationship with expectations. You've got to see them differently. And again, I go into great detail about this in my Relatable program, because I can see how much of an impact a lot of expectation have on the quality of connection and the quality of goodwill between two people, right? And just because you have an expectation doesn't make that expectation valid either. Now, I know that's going to be confronting for some of you to hear, but it's true. Just because you have an expectation doesn't make it valid. Like, I could see that my expectation that my husband read and that we have these conversations around books and politics or whatever it is I was envisaging, doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong or there's something missing in him or missing in my relationship if that expectation is not being met. Okay, but when you put it out there as though that expectation is truth and you live out of it, and every time it's not met you feel disappointed and you gather all the evidence as to why that's correct, can you see that that's going to diminish the feeling, the connection, and the goodwill? Now, I've reached a point, and I made a decision about this many years ago now. I will not tolerate anything that is going to lower the level of connection and goodwill between my husband and I. I won't tolerate that in myself. Does that make sense? I won't feed it. I just won't. Because the most important thing is the level of goodwill and connection between us. That is the most important thing. Anything else is secondary. Because when goodwill and connection is high, everything flows. We communicate well. We problem solve well. We talk about the difficult stuff well. We handle conflict well. We get over differences well. Like everything flows from there. And so to me, that is the most important thing. But I think what so many other people do quite innocently is they start looking at all of the reasons, because they've got all these expectations as to why, I would feel more connected, but my partner's not very good at communicating. I would feel more connected, but my partner doesn't have deep and meaningful conversations with me. I would feel more connected, but, right? And then the conversation around the expectation becomes bigger. And that's the thing that they feed and energize. And then they constantly are feeling in a state of disappointment. Now, whether you're vocalizing that or not, when you're in a state of disappointment, it is in your energy field and the other person can sense it and feel it. And so when that's in your energy field and the other person can sense it and feel it, then they retreat. They are not bringing their biggest or best self. Okay, and so there's this diminishment. That's not a word. That's not a word. I'm making things up right now. Sorry, guys. It diminishes the level of connection, goodwill, and the possibility of everything else that's available, right? And so what happens is you're not living in the appreciation of what's possible between the two of you. You're not looking at that person and loving the things that they are bringing to the table and they do well. It's too much to expect that someone is going to meet all of your needs in the one person. That's just, the chances of that are so low, and that should never be the expectation anyway, right? Take that off. If you've got that, take it off. You can get that met somewhere else. Like, for example, my husband's not into personal development. It's just not his thing. Now, when I first started out in all of these years ago, it's a long time ago, when I can't even remember now, to be honest. It would be 20 years ago, right, where I started looking in the direction of learning, growing, all of those sorts of things. I saw how toxic the culture around that was. I could see in some of the courses I was doing, people saying, my wife's not into personal development and and I find it really difficult to relate to her, or my husband's not into personal growth, and because of that, I don't really respect them very much. And there was this really toxic culture of, because I'm into personal development, that makes me better. That means something about me. I'm a better person. I'm a more valid person. I'm more this, I'm more that. I find that quite toxic. Right? Just because you're into personal development does not mean your partner has to be. Really, that is such an enormous expectation to put on someone, and it's quite arrogant, right? I really want to see the arrogance. It was shocking to me when I saw my own arrogance and how detrimental that was to my marriage, really. Because I've done all these personal development programs, and I bought the kind of belief that I think is pushed out there with these things, that because I'm willing to invest in myself and do that, that somehow makes me better. That is not true. And it's a very toxic thing that I see in a lot of these things. And I would often see in some of the group chats or whatever, since I started this program, I've realized just how different my husband and I are, or how little in common my wife and I have. And I've been thinking, whoa, okay. And, I really should have met someone who was more open-minded, and there was all of this going on, right? And it's very damaging. And I realized, it's like, hang on a minute, I love my husband the way he is. He doesn't need to be doing personal development just because it's important to me and I like it. Like, he's totally supportive of me going and doing those things. Like, he's, a lot of these programs, require an investment of time and money. My husband's never said to me, I don't want you to do that. He's gone, if that's what makes you happy, babe, do it. Now, I would rather have someone that supports me on the things that I want to do rather than put that expectation, the heaviness of that on someone and say, you need to be like me, right? You need to be like me because I know better than you. That's not true, okay? People can get what they need without having to do those things. So you see, expectations can be quite damaging, and someone doesn't have to be just like you in order for you to be okay or them to be okay. I think we need to spend more time accepting someone the way they are, right? Loving someone the way they are, and then meeting someone where they're at, and then seeing what makes sense from there. Okay. Now, some of you aren't going to agree with what I'm saying right now, and that's okay. But I'm just letting you know what I've seen, the damaging effects of that on relationships, on connections, and all sorts of things, because that is what is quite often kind of peddled out there. If you're into personal development growth and your partner's not, then somehow that means there's something wrong with them and you're somehow better. Okay. Just be aware of that, because that is so damaging, and I've seen so many relationships become like forever, permanently marked, stained, destroyed because of that. One of the biggest wounds we carry as human beings is the enoughness wound. Okay, this fear of not being enough, and you don't need that in your partner projecting that onto you. And if you're someone who's looking at life that way, just please understand that is what you are projecting, right? You're not enough because you don't see life the way I do, or you're not enough because you can't communicate the way I do, or you're not enough because you won't have deep and meaningful conversations, or you're not enough because you won't read, or you're not enough because, right? This is the stuff that we inadvertently project onto people, and then we wonder why the quality of the connection goes down. Right? Now, I did not even realize I was doing that. I was completely unaware that that's what I was doing. And when I had that realization, it was an enormous wake-up call. I was like, whoa, I cannot believe I've been projecting this. No wonder I am getting the worst of you and not the best of you, because you don't feel safe around me, emotionally safe. Okay? Oh, hello. Look at all these lovely comments. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Hi, Jody. It's always lovely to see you, darling. Hello. Hello, beautiful Julie and Jody. Hello. Hi, Shane Kelly. Hello. Thank you. Spot on. Lynn, hello. Goodwill equals good plus will. Yes, absolutely. Hey, Leanne. Love to you too, darling, from New Zealand. Beautiful. I love that. Absolute gold. These teachings have changed my life. Oh, thank you, darling. Agreed, me too. Thank you, Jody. Yeah, Lynn. Oh, that wonderful ego teaching. I am better, know better. I know. And it's so unconscious, isn't it? You just don't even realize you're doing it, because that is what is in the energy field of a lot of these courses. I've done this thing, therefore I am. Right? Therefore, I know more. Therefore, it's like, no. It doesn't work that way. That's not true. Hey, Donna. Hello, darling. 100%. I found the same as I developed my desire for my partner to experience what was created more separation and connection. Yes, until I stopped projecting and went inside. Absolutely, 100%. 100%. Leanne, 100%. My arrogance was blind to me. It's challenging to see these things. Yes, it can be. I'm learning to let it go as I see it more clearly. Needed to hear this. Oh, you're so welcome, Jane. I'm glad that's helpful. Hey, Nicole. Hi, darling. Hey, Nick. Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, these are the things, right? This is why it is so important, right? If you want to be great at relationships, if you want to be someone that generates connection, if you want to be someone that generates emotional safety for the people around you, you got to be able to look at yourself. But you've got to be able to look at yourself through a lens that maybe you haven't done so before. You've got to be able to look at yourself through the lens of humility. We are our own biggest blind spot. We really, really are. And whatever we hold in our energy field, we project out. And most people wouldn't have a clue as to what they hold in their energy field. They think that they're holding one thing when they're holding another, okay? And I see this as being incredibly problematic for people, enormously problematic. And so, this is why when we understand what is going on, and I was actually just having this conversation with a new client I'm working with this morning. They were saying, I've seen so many psychologists, I've done so much therapy, but all it did was have me more fearful of my experience, more fearful of my thinking, more fearful of my anxiety, more fearful of what was going on, and intellectualizing it. And I can see now that if I want to have a different experience, the only way to do that is through the lens of understanding what's going on for me. The more deeply I understand, the less frightened I feel. The more deeply I understand, the more ease I experience. Now, here's the thing that you've got to understand, guys. When we understand how something works, and we're dealing with, and let's just use relationships as an example, we're dealing with someone who's angry or shut down or not behaving in a way we would like. Because we're viewing that person through the shared experience of understanding how we work, how the mind works, because it all works the same way for everyone. It's not different for men and women. Exactly the same. Men and women express themselves differently. Yes, I get that. But how we generate our reality, what goes on, it's exactly the same. And so when you can see that and you're looking through the lens of understanding and you truly, really deeply understand that, and if some of you are sitting there going, but how do I learn this? I teach this is what I teach in my Relatable program. Step by step, it's all in there. When you understand this, you get access to a level of peace and calm within yourself that defies word. I have no words for it. As someone who'd studied a million different things, and I say that I studied so many different things, spent thousands and thousands of dollars on many, 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 tens of thousands, more than in different programs and things over the years, because I've always been fascinated by what makes people work and how people tick. It was only when I actually understood that was going on that I experienced a profound sense of peace and calm that I'd never experienced before. And of course, when a human being experiences peace and calm, what they get access to is emotional bandwidth. Now, a human being with emotional bandwidth is way more emotionally intelligent, patient, compassionate, understanding, philosophical, kinder, loving than someone who does not have emotional bandwidth. And I see this because we now live in a world where people are stressed, where they're overthinking, where there's so much coming at them. They barely have time to breathe. They do not have emotional bandwidth. All right? And without emotional bandwidth, we are reactionary. We lack choice. So so what I mean by lacking choice is we get locked into an emotion. Our emotions rule the day. We get locked into thinking. We get locked into a way of being, and we keep doing that again and again and again and again. And we wonder why the same thing keeps happening over and over and over again. And so we look out here and we go, okay, I'm with the wrong person, or I'm in the wrong job, or it's wrong this, or it's wrong that, right? And when we look out here and that's the only place we're looking, that's the only place we're trying to find the answer, it's very disempowering. Because it looks like I've got to change jobs, or I've got to change partners, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that, for you to get any sense of freedom from that experience. And so everything that I teach is the complete opposite of that. And so it's almost like an unlearning that you are going through and experiencing. It's an unlearning. And people will say this all the time. So my clients this morning, it's an unlearning. I'm unlearning all of these things that I've kind of been locked into for years. It's an unlearning. It's like, yeah, and I had to go through the same. It was an unlearning. But as you unlearn, you get room for something else. And it's the something else that is the game changer. I now have emotional bandwidth. I now know what emotional freedom feels like. I now know when my mind is clear. I now know when I'm in the right frame of mind to have a difficult conversation. I navigate my emotions differently. This makes me more relatable, right? To my husband, to my kids, to myself, to my work, to hopefully to you guys. Like And to me, this is the key to everything. This is the key to happiness. This is the key to peace. You know, there's been a study done recently, and someone's going to say what study, and I can't remember the name of it, where a large number of people have been surveyed or polled. And what people are looking for is not happiness. They're looking for peace. And when people feel peaceful, they feel happy. But what people are looking for is peace. You cannot access peace when you don't have any emotional bandwidth. You just can't. You can change jobs as many times as you like. You can change countries. You can change partners. You can do all of those things, right? You can go on a fitness campaign. You can whatever, but without emotional peace, because peace is found within our emotions, right? Isn't it? If you want a sense of peace, peace is found within our emotions. It's a sense of internal calm where our minds are not racing. Right? There's a sense of peace there where we feel untouched by the outside world. Okay. Now, you simply can't access that if your mind's going at 1,000,000 miles an hour when you've got no emotional bandwidth and it's just. And I'm telling you, this is what I see in people. And it's nobody's fault. It's not your fault. It's nobody's fault. But because we're not taught the way things work, we're really not taught this stuff, then we go looking out here for the answer. And the more we look out here, the more our minds race. And the more our minds race, the less emotional bandwidth we have. Now, just imagine it. You've had no emotional bandwidth all day. You come home, things haven't gone so well at work, or, you've had a last-minute deadline you've had to deal with. You've got no emotional bandwidth. What state of mind are you going to walk in the door with no emotional bandwidth? Right? Just think about it for a second. How are you going to walk in the door? Anyone want to share with me how they think they might walk in the door with no emotional bandwidth? What would be different for you, do you think? When you walk in the door and you're coming home to family, whether it be your partner, your children, parents, your flatmates, roommates, etc. Yeah, pissed off. Yeah, that's right. You're going to be, yeah, well said, Lynn. Yep. Annoyed, frustrated. What else? What else? What other state of mind are you going to be in when you walk in the door? Anyone else want to have a go? Try to make this a little more interactive. Empty. Yeah. Empty, drained. Like, I've got nothing. Yeah. Work's got the best of you, haven't they? Yeah, true, Lynn. Yeah, that's right. You very much will feel like the world owes you a favor. Yep. So you're pissed off, empty, says Donna. The world owes me a favor, says Lynn. Anybody else? How do you think you might be? Walking in the door. And you're greeting your family. And your family could be the people that you house share with. Your family could be your partner, whoever, right? Not of a sound mind, Shane. Yeah, not of a sound mind. Low vibrational frequency, which in turn attracts more of that. Absolutely. You're going to be intolerant, aren't you? Intolerant. And so just imagine you walk in the door and you're in a pissed off, empty. The world owes me a favor. I've worked really hard and it's been crappy. You're not of a sound mind kind of a day. Hey, Mick, nice to see you as always, darling. Hey, Mick. Yeah, you're going to be in a bad place of zero value to loved ones, right? Now, before you've said a word, that's in your energy, because, we're energetic beings, we're picking up on that. Before you've said a word. And so maybe your partner who's had a bad day, or your kids have had a bad day and they want to share something with you, they read straight away, it's not safe for me to talk to mum or dad or whoever. They're not in a good mind. So they withdraw. Straight away, connection's dropped, hasn't it? Straight away, before a word has been said, connection has dropped. Okay? Straight away. People are retreating because we are reading each other's energy and we can feel it. Right? I can feel if it's not safe for me to express myself to someone. So I'll hold back. I will withhold. And already, instantly, I'm on guard. I'm watching out for any other signs like heavy breathing, the way they put the keys on the table, huffing and puffing, like all of that's going on. And the thing that we lose, and this is the thing this is where I say I am not tolerant of things that get in the way of goodwill and connection for my husband and I. And when I say I'm not tolerant, I mean of it within myself. Because to me, connection is the lifeblood of everything. And nothing is worth the loss of that. It's just not worth it. I don't want that in my energy field. Okay? Shane, you'll be a hammer and everything will be a nail. Yep, that's true. Susan. Hi, Susan. Yeah, you're going to look for something to criticize, right? So you're in the experience of that. And already connection has dropped. Now, because you're in a frustrated state of mind, you go to say hello and you notice that your partner or whoever's kind of recoiled a bit. Or maybe the only person that walks up to you and says hi is the dog, but even the dog's like, uh-oh, they start to retreat to the corner with the tail between their legs. You have to understand you're in the generation of that. Now, to you, that's going to look justified because you've had a difficult day. Well, I can't help feeling this way. You know, my boss was a so-and-so today, and I got a flat tire on the way to work, or I haven't had time for lunch, or you'll justify it till the cows come home that you're allowed to feel that way. And I'm not saying that you can't. I'm not saying it's wrong. You just have to understand now what you're in the generation of. Okay. And these are the things that people don't see. And then you wonder why your partner doesn't give you a kiss or act as enthusiastic to see you, or people are quieter, or you know what I mean? And now you do that a few times, only a few times, and the level of connection drops and falls away. These are the things that people are doing constantly, every day, and they can't see it in themselves. They can't see it. They don't realize that's what they're doing. That's what they're creating. Now imagine, right, and I've just given you a small taster right there of the kind of stuff we talk about inside Relatable. Imagine if you had full awareness of what you were generating, full awareness, and you knew, right, when you had no emotional bandwidth, and you knew exactly what to do about it, so that you do have emotional bandwidth, and you walk in the door and you generate something else because your level of awareness is that high, your understanding is that deep that you've actually got choice. Imagine what you would generate then. This is the power of one person. Now then imagine the ripple effect of that and how that flows on to anyone and everyone within your sphere. And you have done that. Now imagine how good you're going to feel about yourself because you understand how this works, what you're generating, and you're seeing the ripple effects. Imagine how you're going to feel. Okay? Anyone want to share with me about how that may feel for them? What would be different for you if you were generating that and you could see it? And you're creating something else with the people that you love. And you could see that you were the one doing that. You were the one creating connection, goodwill, understanding. How would that impact the quality of your life, do you think? Yes, that is peace. Yeah. It is literally the most amazing feeling I have ever felt in my life. Truly. And as my Relatable students will say, and there's a number of them on the call here, right? As they will say, once you experience that feeling, you just want more of it. It's like, I want more of that. Okay? I don't care about that thing. I don't care. I don't care that, my husband doesn't read, or that I don't get that. I just want more of that. And that's what you're in the generation of. Hey, Lisa, from the Bible, iron sharpens iron. Yes, it does. It does indeed. Hey, Teresa, more emotional control. Yeah, you do. And you know what I call emotional control? Emotional control to me is emotional freedom, right? Or I'm not, and as someone who was very much driven by emotions and governed by them all my life, I just love the fact that that is not true for me anymore. That's the feeling. And see, this is the thing that I think people miss. They don't know what's possible in terms of how good they can feel. And they focus on all this other stuff that detracts from that because it looks like it's really important. And I promise you, once you start feeling that, nothing is as important as that. Nothing. I hope this is making sense because what I'm sharing with you is actually really, really, really powerful. And if you take it on board, you'd be amazed at how your life can change and the quality of your relationships. Now, if you're someone who would like to know more about my Relatable program and what goes on there, because I really do think it is so special what we create inside of Relatable. We've had 2 incredible calls this week. Like it is something, there's just something really special about Relatable. Here is the link. I'm going to give you the link. Hang on. Here's the link where you can actually find out more about it. And join us if you'd like to join us. All right, there's the link there. Hang on, there's the link. Hey, Trish. Hi, thanks for your comment. Very powerful and eye-opening. Good. I hope so. Because, it's the things that are powerful and eye-opening that wake us up that are the things that then actually create and generate change. All right? And you are the change maker. You all are. You have to understand that. The fact that you're here listening to this, you're the change maker. Someone has to be. Don't get hung up on who's the change maker. Like, do you know what I mean? Why is it me? Blah, blah, blah. Someone has to be. And why not you? Okay? Why not you? You get called to listen to these lives for a reason. You get called to expand your mind for a reason. Why not you be the change maker? I think it's an amazing feeling to be the change maker and to know that I am doing something that has such a big impact on everyone around me. No greater feeling on the planet. Okay, everyone. Well, my father is having for those of you who just joined, it's my father's 80th birthday today, and he's having a really big party tomorrow. So I'm going around there this afternoon to help set things up and get things ready. So I will love you and leave you, but I will be back here next Friday for our first Friday Live for June. Far out, it's nearly June. And if you'd like to join us in Relatable, I put the link there. I'd love you to have you to join our Relatable family. It's a very, very, very special place. Thank you, Jody. Yes, it is such a beautiful community. Jody is one of my Relatable students. Such a beautiful community. Words cannot describe. It's such a gift that ripples far. It's so true, darling. Thank you for saying that. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you so much. So appreciate your comments, everyone. See you next time. Ciao. Thanks, Trish. Bye.